We're live. Beth. Good morning. I'm calling this meeting to order, the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Golden Rain Foundation of Laguna Woods Village, a California nonprofit benefit corporation. We will now come to order. Thank you. I'd like to establish a quorum. Am I good? Yes. Looks like I'm good. Pledge of Allegiance. Director Gross, would you please lead us? Thank you. I see TV is on, other media. There she is back there. Hi. And approval of agenda.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Oh, yes.
Before we approve the agenda, I'd like to move that if there's no objection, that items 11B, 11C, and 11D, dealing with requests regarding small claims court, be removed from this open meeting agenda and placed on the agenda of today's closed meeting. These items pertain to legal matters as well as member discipline and should be discussed and considered in confidence in the closed session.
Do I have a second? Yes. Okay, all those in favor? Thank you. So moved. Anyone else?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I move now that we accept the agenda as a revised.
Thank you. Second. All those in favor? Thank you. Unanimous. Approval of the minutes of the meeting December 4th, our regular open session meeting. Do I have a motion? Good. Second. Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. Report of the chair. I would like to start out by welcoming Judith Troutman back to a chair on this dais. Thank you, Judith. Happy to have you here. And next, I would like to wish Bert Moldau a speedy recovery. He's recovering from a heart operation and seems to be doing well. His emails are cheery, and he was hoping he would be back today, and the doctor said, not today. But he will be. So sending best wishes to Bert. So here we are, second day of this new year, and I'm thinking of a resolution or how am I going to be speaking to you all. And what I want to say is, oftentimes when the new year comes around, I like to think of a word for the year. And my word for this year for our board is team. We have been able to, for the past several years, be working on building team within this board and among the other boards. So I would hope, and I know we will be able to do this, to continue to build a strong sense of team and collaboration on our GRF board. And we will continue to support and team with staff in enhancing Laguna Woods Village community amenities and activities. And that's an arena of team that we all reach out to, and especially the people on this board because we have the responsibility for the activities and amenities. And reaching out in team to collaborate and build the team among all boards, Mutual 50, United Mutual, Third Mutual, and VMS. And we began that in, I don't remember, maybe 3 years ago. And last year, we became really a strong team together. All of us meet as presidents and vice presidents once a month and discuss how we can work together to enhance this community. And so you see, the goal is the same for all of the above-mentioned groups. We wish to support and enhance the well-being of the Laguna Woods Village community, the entire community. And so I'd like to start this meeting out by saying to the whole community, staff, GRF board, and all boards, Happy New Year.
Yeah, same to you.
Thank you, thank you. And now we have Lisa Bender coming up. She's our VMS representative to give us a report. Oh, Lisa, I need to interrupt you and say, Lisa is now the president of VMS.
I'm actually the chair, I believe.
Oh,
So,
wrong
the
title?
chair, and I will talk about that as part of it. But thank you very much. Congratulations. And Beth, I couldn't agree more, especially as a new chair, that we're building on integrating and cooperation between the boards in a way that will only enhance life in the village. And I appreciate the efforts of everybody here and other boards as well. So Happy New Year. Okay. So do you have my presentation up? Okay, thank you. It's coming. If I suddenly go, ow, it's because I'm just back from Iceland and I fell on the ice in Iceland. And my back is not so great. And I'm still cold.
No, all of our screens went off too. Hopefully Chuck is on his way. That's, Lisa,
Yes.
how about Siobhan? Would it be possible for us to skip to your report and have Lisa after you so they get a little time going? And Whitney, can you contact Chuck? Is you getting? Okay,
Eileen has it.
Okay. So
Oh, yeah.
Siobhan, you're on. I'll come back later.
okay, thank you.
Good morning, Madam President, members of the board. It's my honor to be here this morning to provide the CEO update. I wanted to start by wishing everyone a happy, healthy, and peaceful new year. And I want to extend staff's well wishes to Director Moldow as well for a speedy recovery. This morning, I wanted to update you on the General Services Department. As you are aware, Bruce Hartley retired on December 28th, which was last Friday. And he provided exceptional service to our community, so In retrospect, I want to thank Bruce for his efforts, and I also want to thank him for making a smooth transition to our 2 new directors who are now serving the General Services Department. And I probably should have called them senior level managers and not directors, so I stand corrected. We have Chris Laganor, who joined us last month as our senior transportation manager, and also Kurt Weeman, who joined us a couple weeks ago as our senior field services manager. Chris, in his role, is responsible for transportation, sidewalks, and street maintenance. He's also responsible for vehicle maintenance, custodial services, and managing the waste management contract. And this morning, I want to introduce you to Chris because you are not familiar with him since he's a new employee. So I'm going to ask Chris to come up to the podium so I can introduce him. Again, this is Chris Laganor, our new senior transportation and maintenance manager in the General Services Department. Chris has an MPA from California State University, Long Beach, and a BS in Public Affairs from the University of Southern California. Chris has more than 30 years' experience with the city of Santa Ana, with progressive experience in transportation, fleet management, contract administration, including contracts such as custodial services and other large contracts, and budget management, managing, for example, the police department budget, which totals more than $120 million annually. So with that, I'd like to welcome Chris and introduce him to the GRF board this morning.
Hi, thank you. I've already got to meet Ray by phone call last week, so I look forward to working with you on the D&M committee and look forward to helping you guys out however I can help you. I look forward to this opportunity. It's be a fun opportunity for me after 30 years with Santa Ana, and enjoy working with you and meeting all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate you being here this morning.
Welcome.
I also have a couple quick reminders for our residents. First is we want residents to remember to please fill out their Code Red forms if they haven't done so already. Laguna Woods Village utilizes Code Red, which is a community-wide emergency notification system. Code Red transmits brief, urgent messages to residents as quickly as possible via phone call, text message, and/or email. And the recent wildfires in California highlight the importance of having a working emergency notification system and the importance of having residents provide up-to-date contact information so we can reach you in times of emergency. These forms were sent to the residents as part of their November budget packages and can be submitted to the village by mail or by dropping them off in the lobby at the concierge desk, or forms can be filled out on the village website if they go to lagunawoodsvillage.com and click on the Code Red tab on the home page. So again, please encourage everyone to fill out the forms and submit them so we can reach you if we need to in times of emergency. And then lastly, I want to remind residents that there will be a college football national championship game viewing party next Monday. That's Monday, January 7th, in Clubhouse 5 in the main lounge. Doors open at 4:30 and kickoff is at 5. Admission is free and hot dogs are available for purchase and outside food is permitted. So this is the last college football game of the season and everyone is welcome. That concludes my presentation this morning.
Thank you, Siobhan. Are we ready for Lisa? Lisa Bender, Chair of VMS.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, what I'd like to do today is talk about what VMS is, the Village Management Services Board, and introduce the 2019 Board of Directors, because there's been some ins and outs, and I thought it was important for people to know these are not elected positions, but they're appointed positions, so we have a little less visibility in what goes on, but I think it's important to be transparent with the whole community and for them to know who is representing them. Then just want to go through what I would normally do is just talk about some of the activities that have been going on in the village, like some recent recreation activities, and then Chuck Holland gave us a very large headache one day by going through what he had done in 2018, both in IT and in broadband, and then what he is planning for going forward. So I can't guarantee that I will be accurate on some of those activities because some I just don't understand. Okay, so next please, Whitney. Okay, I guess I got this wrong. I called us the fourth village board, but I think I did not include the 50 from the towers. So we have two housing boards, we have GRF, and we have the village management board. Okay, we are appointed directors. There are 3 each from GRF, United, and Third. And one way to describe us is that we are the employer of all the employees in the village. We never do anything alone. Everything is integrated. We work with the other boards, but we pay attention to the issues for our 800 employees that we have. So we plan for compensation and benefits. We look at employment practices, disciplinary issues, hiring, looking at attrition. We work with the CEO on labor relations with the union, and we're also look at litigation that happens in our community that involves our employees. And we do other things, so I'm just saying kind of and more. The other kind of broad responsibility we have is to provide oversight to executive management on all programs, practices, and policies. So we work with the directors on doing a strategic plan on a yearly basis. We review that quarterly with each of the directors. Each of the directors rotate through our VMS meeting, and they provide a report on what their activities are, what obstacles they have, and their accomplishments. We have worked on organization design issues. So we are in the kind of know of what might be happening and provide some guidance to that. Communication strategy and rollout of a lot of programs. We focus on customer service and process and IT development and more. So our meetings are very much filled with what are the activities that the staff are involved in and how well is it going. And I want to point out we have no money. That means I don't get paid. Neither do you, right? These are all volunteer activities, and we don't have our own budget, okay? We have a lot of input into the budget through our planning with the directors, but we direct no spending at all. So we'll say that as opposed to some of the other boards. At the end of December, I think it was the 18th, Whitney, we had some elections within our board. As it turns out, I am now the chair of the board. And a little bit about my background, because I want to go through the backgrounds of other folks. My PhD is in social psychology with a postdoctoral degree in clinical psychology. I spent most of my career as a chief human resources officer in a technology company that had award-winning practices for both people and its technology. I had a staff of 150, $20 million budget, and my guidance on comp and benefits was about $750 million. So I did have some money at some point, but not anymore. Okay. Dan Kenny, who has a doctorate in pharmacy, okay, has been a pharmacist He has also run pharmacy, been the director of pharmacies. He has been a hospital administrator. He has been the mayor of Laguna Beach and has a very broad background and a delight to work with. Lucy Shimon, who was a flight attendant, she called herself a stewardess, I think, but I updated it to flight attendant. She worked for the state of California as an unemployment adjudicator. She was the supervisor of state disability. And Lucy has been probably on every board, every committee in the village that is possible. Okay. Ron Beldner is a new member of the VMS board. I look forward to working with him. He has a very broad business background in HR, budget, planning, and cost accounting. The most interesting for me, looking at his resume, was that he was a volunteer director of the LA Fire Department. Okay? So he has a list of volunteer activities. It's 2 pages long. And so he remains very active and seems like an avid reader and was handing me some things to read already this morning as a new member. Okay. Dick Rader has a PhD in microbiology. Dick. Okay. Dick was a professor and a researcher at Wayne State University. And he became an entrepreneur and started his own medical distribution company. He has a broad business background working with CEOs, CFOs, directors, and such. And Dick attends a lot of meetings, knows what's going on, and is a huge volunteer. Mary Stone. Mary Stone has a business administration and management background. Mary is a lifelong learner. She's had courses in dispute resolution, leadership, holistic studies, and a long list of other things. She has had positions in healthcare, sales management, public utility, the travel industry, and I can't read the last thing I wrote. Okay. But she has a broad background, and many people would know Mary Stone because she has been a volunteer and a member of a board and members of committees and attends meetings, and was part of the reconfiguration from PCM to self-management. New to our board also is Reza Karimi. Okay, Reza has a PhD in analytic chemistry, an MS in petroleum engineer, and an MS in also analytic chemistry. He's got a 30-year career in research and laboratories. He's been a VP for a number of different laboratories over time, doing research and development in environment, radiology, technology, and issues for our government, the DOD, and I think the EPA, if I can remember correctly. And I forgot to mention, Dan is going to be the first vice chair, and Reza will be the second vice chair on the committee. We have Wei Ming Tao. I met Wei Ming when I first started to get involved, as she was coming off, I think, a board, and now she's back as a representative from 3rd. She's got a 30-year business background. She's a CPA. She has been a CFO and a controller of 9 plants in 7 different countries. So she's going to take us international somehow. I don't know what she's going to do. And she's overseeing a $500 million budget. Raquel Unger has a broad business background as well in both HR, retail, office, what did I say here? Office management, and currently she is a real estate agent doing work here in the village. She also has a long list of volunteer activities that she's done with learning disabled children, women's groups, and has been a volunteer both in the city and also with clubs. But I want to just say, reviewing these backgrounds, really struck by how much volunteerism there was sitting in this room with me, both in the village and in the clubs, and things like Red Cross, foster children, court system, bereavement groups. I mean, it really has kind of run the gamut, although I really like the volunteer detective for the LA Fire Department. That one really stood out for me with Ron. And so with that, just giving the background that we're a very serious group of people that want to do good for the village and dedicate our time to doing that. With that, I want to invite everybody that may be watching this to come forward, find a place to volunteer on many of these boards, even if it's not a board member or going through an election. The committees do a lot of work, and if there is something that interests you in the spirit of more volunteerism in this community for 2019, I invite people to do that. Okay. And just quickly, because I think I've used more time than I need to, there's a list there of the kinds of things that have been going on in recreation over 2018. Everything from a memorial golf tournament to a harvest hoedown. I took my grandchild to the Christmas holiday party, and he enjoyed the snow that was being made, as well as talking to Santa. Siobhan talked about the Monday night football, the last one. Can't tell you I'm interested in those, but okay, there are other folks around. And the staff was very creative when we had the heat wave during the summer. They opened up Clubhouse 3 and showed movies. That's kind of full service kind of recreation going on. Okay, now Chuck came by, and again, I'll put this up. A couple of achievements that he wanted to talk about was the transportation portal that's been created, that we have tablets in a lot of our vehicles, so there's no need for people to come back to home base to find out where they're going next or what they have to do, because it's now all on their tablets. And then the call center has an IVR, and I think that's an integrated voice something or other. Integrated voice response. Thank you. Is that Dick? Okay. There has been remodeling of a lot of offices, alterations, and IT operations, which means rewiring things so that people can do their job efficiently. There's a email archiver, automated customer service notifications, and there's a handy mail field application. In broadband, next, thank you, we have sold $1.1 million in ads. I really shouldn't call it revenue because it's not revenue, because it gets plowed right back into the budget of broadband. So revenue is a little nasty word here. Okay, this one I don't know what it means, but 3,500 of the 4,000 DOCSIS 2.0 modems were installed. There were cable TV nodes. There's a Stingray Image music channel, and 8,600 tickets were responded to, and he's under budget in both broadband and IT. And he's a great technician, too, because he comes down and he gets things going. Okay, with that, thank you and Happy New Year to everybody.
Thank you, Lisa. And so now, where we go is to number 9 on the agenda, the open forum. At this time, the speakers may address the Board of Directors regarding items not on the agenda, and within the jurisdiction of the Board of Directors of the Golden Rain Foundation. There's a maximum time limit of 3 minutes per speaker, and a speaker may only address the board once during this period. The board reserves the right to limit the total amount of time allotted for the open forum. So do we have folks to come up?
Ann Russell.
Thank you. Welcome, Anne.
Happy New Year, everybody. I was very happy, Ms. Parrick, that you chose as your theme, working together. And it's in that spirit. And I must say, I was very impressed with Linda's presentation, all the things that are going on for the benefit of the community. And we don't say thank you enough. And I didn't even know all those things were going on. So anyway, someone once said the rumors of my death are greatly exaggerated. Well, the rumors of fights over the TV in Clubhouse 1, which led allegedly to its removal, don't even exist. There are no fights at Clubhouse 1 over the TV. We have been, since this weekend, and there haven't been many people coming because of the TV's absence and the holidays, we're getting a petition together to get it back. Now, I have talked to maybe 100 people and asked them, have you ever seen a fight over the TV? And they roll their eyes and say, what? Now, my point is, this is a very important place where all of us come. And to be very honest with you, other than Starbucks, that's a place I've met all my friends. And there are people from all over the world, all over the country, all over California. And this is like the heart of our community. I would welcome you to come over there and talk to the people because it's most important. The other rumor is they had to call security because of the fights. Well, I would request any report from security that said they came because of a fight over the TV. I don't think they exist. Now, there was an incident, and Elizabeth and I were part of it, that security was called because there was a problem in the clubhouse. People were afraid. Security came, taken care of. The next day I walked in, and 4 women were talking about, they called security yesterday because there was a fight over the TV. There was no fight over the TV. It had nothing to do with the TV. And someone just came in this morning and said, yes, I heard they took the TV and the puzzles. I said, no, they didn't.
Anne, you have 12 seconds.
Okay. All I want to say is, please consider putting this back because we really do need this for our own mental health and our sociability. Thank you and Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Dr. Romano.
Good morning, and I want to thank you all for your service. It's very commendable. I'm here also to discuss the issue around the television, and for transparency, I'm a representative of the United Nations. My area of focus is on protection of the elderly. I'm also representative for the Orange County Council on the Elderly for the same concerns. The incident over the TV, is very unfortunate. I talked to the staff over there and asked them to, in the consideration of people's mental health, to please wait for another 10 days to remove the TV so that our residents would have some place to go. And we all know that Christmas time is a time of depression, greater suicide, and it's really important to provide as much support as we can. With that, I was laughed at. I was told by the staff over at the rec department that it's very difficult for them to deal with all the childish behavior of the seniors here, of the residents, and that doesn't settle well with me either. again, I asked the manager over there 3 times, please consider the mental health and the situation that we have for 10 days, and that was denied and ignored. Uh, I have observed a problem over there personally with a young man who is very disruptive. I have heard him threaten people. I have heard vulgar language. Okay, again, my background is I'm a forensic psychologist. I'm an expert on mentally disordered offenders and mentally disordered sex offenders. And I have great concern for hearing this and seeing this. I was at Starbucks and had to leave and left that because of the language of this young man. He can no longer go to Starbucks. And I would ask for the same consideration and limitations for our vulnerable seniors here. And let's see. I understand that this young man has challenges, but I think that it's overall the concern of the board for the greater good of the seniors that are fearful over there. The other point is too, is in wanting to sell my home, am I going to say, and be honest and say, why are you moving out? Well, there's disruptions and concerns over here, and I personally, with my background, feel threatened and intimidated going around there. We'd asked this young man was asked to not come back to the clubhouse for 30 days. He was back there the next day and repeatedly has been back there. So I would like for you to consider the appropriateness of the community that I moved in here because it was a senior community, and nobody told me that there's special agreements that you can keep special children in here.
You
Okay,
have 12 seconds.
Okay, as an adult now, these happen to be felonies, okay? It's his behavior, so I hope you look into that and consider our best interest. And again, thank you very much for your service and time.
Thank you.
Steve Ola.
Good morning. I'm in a good mood. I'm here to complain about the removal of Channel 3 on the cable TV. The problem here is that there was no Channel 3-1. So when the analog was removed, we don't have Channel 3 anymore. And I'm going to complain about this. I could imagine that this is a money grab because now they want me to buy an unconverter box or an unscrambled box, but I'm not going to do. That's another piece of junk which will go into the trash a few years from now. So please fix. I know there is a digital version of Channel 3 because it is being scrambled and put on the scrambled channels. But we don't have, or I don't have a box, so now I don't have Channel 3, which was pretty useful. So I hope that you can fix it somehow. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Andre Torn.
Welcome, Andre.
Good morning, GRF Board Directors. Wish you all a Happy New Year, and everything's looking forward to work with you. Two issues I was brought up the attention that our TV in the drop-in laundry removed. Even if I just heard that there's no fight over there. Even if the perception is there is a fight there, I don't think removing it constantly, permanently is the best interest of the residents. So I hope that maybe we can give them, even if there's a fight, we should just remove maybe 3 days or maybe a week and put it back, because that's the water hole, that's people gathering. We will encourage people to gather in there. With the TV, it will help out people talk about the issues, relate to them. That's the idea of the drop-in lounge. We don't want to just drop-in lounge with nothing in there, so nobody's going there. So hopefully we'll get it back very soon. Second thing is about Roundup. I'm not sure if GRF has made any decisions and heard any schedule anything about it. for the Roundup. I understand that Third has already agreed to remove Roundup from their landscape operation, and United has done a study, and besides, there are alternatives that can be used for landscape operations. And United Director Chair Maggie Blackwell has issued a statement on the Globe and state that they're waiting for the decision and joint decision of GRF and Third. So at this point, it seems like two mutuals are already agreed and just waiting for GRF to make a decision. I'm not sure what direction it will go. And if we speed up to make the decision, I think the residents will be really appreciated. We have all seniors here, so if there's any danger to the senior citizens are really prone for this kind of danger. So hopefully we'll have a better, quick decisions on that. Thank you very much.
There are no more speakers.
Okay. No more speakers today? It looks, did you want to speak?
Oh, yes, I did sign.
No, go ahead and get a card. We'll sign a card and come to the podium. She's going to do it. She'll do it.
Hello, I'm Florence Friedman, and I've been listening to you, and I think it's wonderful that you all volunteer. Now, I heard that the volunteers are being cut out in the lounge. Now, of all things, I think you can appreciate how important it is for them and for people. So I cannot fathom why the volunteers are being cut. They give such wonderful service. They give without asking or remuneration. So I think they should be restored. And that's it. Thank you.
What has been cut? What is she talking?
Volunteers in the lounge, which
Oh,
lounge?
wow. Could you come back up? We have a couple of, we don't understand. Florence, come back, please. We have a couple of questions.
Yes.
Because to clarify what you said.
Yes.
So volunteers have been cut at lounges, is what you're saying? Which
No, the lounge was where the TV was cut. The drop-in lounge.
The drop-in lounge, the
Yes.
TV was cut. You're not talking about
Yes,
staff being cut?
I have friends who give freely of their time, and I think, I could not believe that it was cut. That's why I'm here.
The TV is.
Oh, the cut being the TV taken out, is that what you're saying?
No, the volunteers being
Volunteers, you
eliminated.
handling coffee?
Oh, the volunteers.
Yes,
with
you,
the coffee,
of all
okay.
people, you are wonderful. You know how valuable it is to volunteer.
Right.
You give freely of your time, and they do too, and I can't understand why they were cut out.
Don't know about it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, responses, I'll start over there. Yes. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. On Sunday, I was at a meeting, and one thing I observed was a lot of people signing a petition, and the petition was to bring the TV back to the drop-in lounge. Now, that drop-in lounge has been around for a long time, and they've had TVs in there for many years. And I think it's an awful shame to take away the TV, because the people go in there, they do crossword puzzles, they play cards sometimes, and they watch the TV. There apparently has been some disruption there, and the idea, I didn't realize they had volunteers already, but I think that's a great idea that they have volunteers, and if there is any trouble, they have to call security. What else can they do? So I would be a firm advocate of bringing the TV back. Thank you.
Judith?
I asked about the volunteers. Apparently, they used to have volunteers because they had to have someone make the coffee and clean up, and now they have an automated machine, and there was no need for volunteers. But that's the answer that I was given why they didn't need volunteers anymore. It had to do with the machine, which I understand is frequently broken. Anyway, it doesn't work all the time. But so that's why they didn't need a volunteer person. So that's what I was told by staff.
This is to Mr. Ola, if I'm saying it correctly. 3 or 4 weeks ago, I had the same challenge where I couldn't get Channel 3, but it was on a TV that did not have a box on it. So I started scrolling, and if my memory serves me correct, it was on 321. But it absolutely is there, just as clear as anything. I did find it, and you might just do the same thing. Like I said, it's been 3 or 4 weeks ago, so I remember what's 321 or 312 or whatever. It's one of those situations. So scroll through it. Just go through one, two, and you'll get it. Believe me, it's there. I've seen that now probably 3 or 4 different times. This happens to be, like I said, doesn't have a box on it. That's why it's that way. There's no commentary, sir. We're giving you the answer.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to speak about Ann Russell and Dr. Romano, and I think it was an Andre, about the Clubhouse One TV removal. I go there usually to the drop-in lounge and get coffee after I've exercised and stretched, and I just love that place. People bring additional food there when they've overcooked or overbaked, and it gets eaten up like that. It's a great place to go and see people. I did not realize that I've been busy with vacation, so I did not realize that the TV was removed. And I am the chair of the CAC committee now. So I will tell you that our next meeting is Thursday, January the 10th at 1:30 here in this boardroom. I will look into this issue because that's not what we want. We're a community that wants to offer benefits and services and make living here a greater experience for everyone. So as I said, I've been busy. The new year is now started, so I will look into this, and please come to that meeting and address your concerns. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to address the removal of the TV. I talked to Brian in the rec department, and his information was that people were at risk because of the disruptions, deciding what channel to watch, and the arguments that he had heard were present. And as a matter of concern for safety, the TV was removed. So I suggested, well, why don't we perhaps attempt to put something else in, like tablets or something, where we could have 3 different ones and people could watch 3 different channels at once, so you wouldn't have these arguments. And so that's being explored, just for your information. And secondly, I'd like to say something to the TV guide for Steve. The Register, the Saturday Register, has a complete TV guide printed out. And as I understand, because it's cable, we've removed, not cable, I'm sorry, analog, they had to remove channel 3. And if 3 is substituted on 321, that's great. And so I will check that out to be sure. But as far as I know, we don't have a moving guide unless you subscribe to a box. So you can't get it, except it is printed out in the Saturday TV guide.
I wrote that information down on my TV guide, so I will be able to get back to you and tell you exactly what the number is. But I think it's 3.21, I believe. Well, it's 321, yeah. It shows on the thing, 3.21, whatever.
Yeah, I understand there's a lot of controversy. In this diverse community, you're going to have a lot of complaints because everybody wants to watch a different TV station. So I suggest you just play music.
John, did you
want to say?
Yeah, just a short comment. It seems like most of the concerns this morning are in the drop-in lounge. I've been over there. That's a nice little place to drop in. One thing that came up that bothered me, it said there was a young man with bad language and whatever. I hope that's been taken care of. They are allowed to live here with their parents, but they're also obligated to follow certain rules, and I'm sure that's been taken care of. I hope it has been. That's all.
I just wanted to comment, I think it was, well, it doesn't matter, Steve, who said that the boxes were a money grab, was his expression, and it was not a money grab. It was an issue of bandwidth, that the analog stations take up far more bandwidth than the digital stations do, and it was to allow more bandwidth to be used for the internet. It was not a money grab.
Thanks, Diane. Anybody else? Annette?
I believe as far as that goes, that the analog has not been, it's pretty much outside of this community, exists no longer. And we have placed this about 8 years later than the norm. So this issue had to be addressed because we can't get parts, we can't service, and it just, not only besides it occupies too much bandwidth, it just isn't feasible anymore. And that's what we're dealing with. And what we ended up doing with the box was to do it, and we looked at this considerably, being on the media and communication. I'm new to that, though, but they looked at it, and they've addressed this every month because somebody always comes up and speaks about the analog and how disruptive it is. They really tried their best to do this, but it's almost a decade overdue. And we're struggling with this, but we need to move on. And has nothing to do with we're trying to. Basically analog is no longer supported, and we can't offer it because it isn't supported, and that's it in a nutshell. Thank you.
I had the honor of serving as chair of CAC for several years, and last year, the item of the TV and the drop-in lounge came up during that time. And in talking with Brian Brunner, the reason being, number one, safety. There was concern about safety with the conflict among members of, as Dick says, one TV station and another, and maybe we should have music. I don't really know what the answer is to this, but it seems like life is a bit calmer not having the TV there. So I'm happy to say that we can revisit this and see if we can come to some kind of an understanding so that the TV can be on in a peaceable manner in the drop-in lounge, which should be a peaceful place to drop in and enjoy time with your neighbors. So time for us to move on to the consent calendar. A reminder that items B through D have been moved to the closed meeting. So we have A and E that we're now still on the consent calendar. So do I have a motion? Oh, Pat.
I move that we accept the consent calendar, items 11A and 11E.
Have a second? Second, thank you. All those in favor? Okay, good, thank you. Thank you. So where we are now is unfinished business, and we have none. And on to new business. A, to entertain a motion to approve supplemental funding for vehicle purchase. Joan.
Resolution 9019XX, supplemental funding for van replacement. Whereas October 14th, 2018, a GRF-owned handicapped accessible plan-a-ride van with liability-only insurance coverage was damaged beyond repair in an accident. And whereas on December 5th, 2018, the Mobility and Vehicles Committee confirmed the need for a vehicle used by transportation and approved the replacement of the van. Now therefore be it resolved, January 2nd, 2019, the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby authorizes a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $45,000 to be funded from the equipment fund for the purchase of a replacement van. Resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution. I move we accept this resolution for supplemental funding for van replacement.
All those in favor?
Discussion.
The vote will be up in just a second.
Sorry.
Oh, goodness. Okay, there's none.
No discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Oh, okay.
Yes, Dick. He's doing it.
Okay. Okay. Everybody vote? Did you vote?
Who's missing? Dick did vote? Okay.
There are only 9 of us here. That's it.
Okay, there's only 9 of us here.
Passed.
Okay, it passes. Thank you. $13B, entertain a motion to approve a resolution for financial transfers by VMS. I'm going to repeat that. Entertain a motion to approve a resolution for financial transfers by VMS.
13B.
That's 13B.
I'll read it.
Joan.
Before I read it, there are a couple of scriveners that we need to acknowledge, and I will put them in so that you understand. So if you look at the 1, 2, 3, fourth whereas, it should have read whenever they request it. So if you'd insert they in the 1, 2, 3, fourth, fifth line down after whenever. And on the next page, on the next to the last whereas, there is an extra make in there. So the second line down, take out the word make after making. So it should read mutual members of making payments instead of making make, okay? And finally, they left out the final paragraph we always put in that on page 5 of 6. Resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution. So I'll read that in. Okay, otherwise it'll appear as written. Okay, here we go. This is going to act as a permission slip as well, so that's why there's a signature at the very end. Financial transfer, Resolution 9019XX, financial transfers by VMS Inc. Whereas Golden Rain Foundation, the association, or GRF, is a California nonprofit mutual benefit corporation organized for the purpose of operating the condominium project known as Golden Rain Foundation pursuant to the provisions set forth in its articles of incorporation, bylaws, rules, and board resolutions, collectively the governing documents. Whereas Village Management Services, Inc., VMS, is a California nonprofit mutual benefit corporation organized primarily for the purpose of providing management services to, among other associations, GRF, pursuant to the provisions set forth in the association's governing documents. services that currently include, among other things, making financial transfers from one or more accounts that it maintains as trustee on behalf of the association. Whereas the association, through its volunteer board of directors, is responsible for, among other things, managing and operating the association in accordance with the association's governing documents and the Davis-Sterling Common Interest Development Act. And whereas pursuant to Article 9, Section 9.6.4.2 of the bylaws for GRF, the treasurer shall deposit or cause to be deposited all money and other valuables in the name and to the credit of this corporation with such depositories as may be designated by the Board of Directors, disperse the funds of this corporation as may be ordered by the Board of Directors, render to the President and Directors whenever they request it, an amount of all transactions as treasurer and of the financial condition of this corporation, and have other powers and perform other duties as may be prescribed by the Board of Directors or by bylaws. Such responsibilities may be delegated to a member of the staff of the managing agent of this corporation. Unquote. Whereas Article 6, Section 6.1.2 of the bylaws provides, quote, the board may delegate the management of the activities of this corporation to any person or persons or management company, provided that the policies, activities, and affairs of this corporation shall be managed, and all corporate powers shall be exercised under the ultimate direction of the board, unquote. And whereas pursuant to Corporations Code, Section 7210, quotes, the board may delegate the management of the activities of the corporation to any person or persons, management company, or committee, however composed, provided that the activities and affairs of the corporation shall be managed and all corporate powers shall be exercised under the ultimate direction of the board, unquote. And whereas the association's managing agent is currently VMS, pursuant to a duly executed management agreement, and whereas pursuant to Article 12, Section 12.2 of the bylaws, the books and accounts of this corporation and GRF Trust shall be kept under the direction of their treasurer or the managing agent, unquote. And whereas pursuant to Article 10, Section 10.1.2 of the bylaws, quotes, the Board of Directors may authorize any officer or officers, agent or agents to enter into any contract or execute any instrument in the name of and on behalf of this corporation, and such authority may be general or confined to specific instances, unquote. And whereas Civil Code Section 5380 regulates the conduct of an association's managing agent in managing the association's funds, and pursuant to Civil Code Section 5380A, quotes, a managing agent of the common interest development who accepts or receives funds belonging to the association shall deposit those funds that are not placed into an escrow account with a bank, savings association, or credit union, or into an account under the control of the association, into a trust fund account maintained by the managing agent in a bank, savings association, or credit union in this state, unquote. And whereas pursuant to Civil Code Section 5380B, the written approval of the board is required for VMS, including its employees rendering services and performing its duties as managing agent of GRF, who accepts or receives funds on behalf of the association, to deposit said funds into an interest-bearing account in a bank, savings association, or credit union in the state of California. And whereas, effective January 1st, 2019, Civil Code Section 5380B prohibits a managing agent from making financial transfers greater than $10,000 or 5% of an association's total combined reserve and operating account deposits, whichever is lower, from accounts maintained by the managing agent as trustee for the association without obtaining prior written consent from the board of the association. And whereas the board has determined that it is in the best interests of the Association for VMS to be granted the authority to make said financial transfers, electronic or otherwise, without having to obtain the board's prior written approval for each such financial transfer, and wishes to authorize or direct VMS through its employees to make said transfers as required by the association. And whereas the board recognizes the convenience to the mutual members of making payments in the form of a single disbursement, and hereby sets forth as an approved policy that those portions of payments received by GRF relating to a mutual member's obligation to their respective mutual are hereby authorized to be transferred into an account under such mutual's control immediately upon receipt and without further action by GRF. And whereas the board hereby establishes as a standing policy that the approval of any contract also constitutes an approval to transfer any sums necessary to bear the payments set forth in such approved contract, and further that the approval of each annual budget is an express authorization to transfer the funds associated with the expenses of such approved budget. Now therefore be it resolved, beginning on January 1st, 2019, and continuing thereafter until repealed or replaced by GRF, that the association hereby adopts the following resolution pursuant to California Civil Code Section 5330, authorizing financial transfers by VMS on behalf of the association from one or more accounts that VMS maintains as trustee on behalf of the association, as may be necessary for VMS to fulfill its contractual duties to the association, provided the following requirements are met. A, the account is in the name of the association. B, all the funds in the account are covered by insurance provided by an agency of the federal government or private institution offering coverage equal to or exceeding such government-backed insurance. C, VMS discloses to the board via account summaries, statements, or otherwise the nature of the account, how interest will be calculated and paid, whether service charges will be paid to the depository and by whom, and any notice requirements or penalties for withdrawal of funds from the account or accounts, all of which must be noticed to the association with the association's financials in no less than a monthly basis to allow the board to meet its statutory duties. D, no interest earned on funds in the amount shall inure directly or indirectly to the benefit of VMS or any party other than the association. And E, transfers of greater than $10,000 or 5% of the association's total combined reserve and operating account deposits, whichever is lower, including transfers for the payment of utilities or other association expenses, shall not be authorized from the account without prior written approval from the board. For purposes of this section, E, this resolution shall be deemed the prior written approval from the board, as required by Civil Code Section 5330.
80.
Thank you, 5380. Resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of this corporation to carry out this resolution. And then there's a certificate which I have to sign, and this whole thing will serve as permission, as quoted in the resolution. I move that we accept this resolution.
I can second
Thank you.
Discussion.
I just have one comment. When Lisa gave her presentation, she said they had no money. And here we're talking about funding them.
Microphone.
Oh, sorry about that.
You're not funding me.
When Lisa gave her presentation, she talked that VMS had no money. And here we're talking about funds being given to them.
You want to answer that?
Okay, this is merely the handling of our funds. This is not funding VMS at all. It's giving them permission to do the money transfers that are necessary to keep the operation moving.
But her statement, we have no money, I mean, they're getting.
They have no money.
They have no
It simply
budget.
gives them permission to handle our money as our employee. Maybe, Siobhan, maybe you could correct this.
Maybe Betty?
I'm actually going to have Betty come up and answer that
Okay.
question, please.
They don't have a budget.
They have no budget. They
Good
don't
morning
know
and
what
Happy
they're
New Year.
spending.
And we are really just codifying current practice here. We're not introducing any new policy, but the new civil code requirement that is often designed for a much smaller HOA than what we have here can be a little constraining for this size of an operation. So when this went into effect January 1st, the associations that are currently relying on a managing agent to write their checks and may not be getting board approval for those checks, this is designed to require more exposure to the boards of those transactions. Here, you're run like a corporation, not a small HOA. So you have a system of internal controls that is best practice for any corporation that protects your money. And this civil code is not adding to that. So what we're doing by this resolution that was written by Fred Whitney, your legal counsel, he's basically saying that this resolution is the authorization for us to conduct your business, which authorization you've already given us. This is just codifying it on paper. So it's not introducing any new practice or any new authority, but it's putting it on paper so that it meets the requirement of civil code.
Okay.
Maybe the word formalizing it would help, right?
Right. And I just was going to suggest one change at the very top of page 5, where it's talking about the approval of each annual budget is an express authorization. After annual budget, I would say, or supplemental appropriation, because you do supplement your annual budget with, by resolution or appropriations, and that might make it.
Can we repeat that?
Clear.
I'm sorry.
I would say
Or supplemental appropriation.
that the approval of each annual budget or supplemental appropriation is an express authorization to transfer the funds. And so just to answer your question, Richard, VMS does not have any income. They don't have any revenue to report. This is allowing us to transact business for GRF. So as VMS, as the agent, we're conducting your business. And this gives us the authority to do that without having to have board members sign the individual checks that are written to all the vendors and without having to sign individual payroll checks. So we have other controls in place that you would expect in a corporation to protect your money and have segregation of duties and signature authorizations and so forth. So you have your protections, and this is just a way to authorize that, but it's not giving VMS any money.
Thank you.
Judith?
Does Third and United have to sign similar agreements?
Yes, Sandra and Jeff Beaumont work together, and they are passing a similar resolution at their January meetings this month. And I would recommend that when a motion is made to approve this, that you include in your motion approval of this resolution and ratify any transactions that have occurred since January 1st, which we weren't open for business yesterday, so it's really today.
Thank you, Betty. Diane?
My question is for Joan. Are those Scriveners? Can we, or do you want me to?
Scribner's, really.
Okay.
That final paragraph, Betty, the last paragraph we normally put in, I assumed was left out unintentionally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that would be a Scribner's. It's a mistake, you know.
Well, it just kind of covers it. Okay, so I think Annette was first and then Pat.
Sure, go ahead.
Betty, to address your issue, though, it says here, now therefore, beginning on January 1, so it's already effective on January 1.
The civil code is. The civil code is effective. Your business practices have not changed. And so to meet civil code requirement, we're recommending that somebody make a motion to approve this resolution, and in the wording of your motion, include ratification of any transactions since
Okay.
January 1st.
Understood. Thank you.
Pat?
Yes, when we first created the VMS Board of Directors, we understood that there would be no bank account or banking or anything to do with that as far as the VMS directors are concerned. I must admit I'm confused with this. And I'm going to abstain on this one. Thank you.
John?
This does not apply to the board of directors. It applies to the VMS, to the managing agent. Is that, to the employees, Pat?
I see.
So the
Not
the
to the
board has
direct-
nothing to do with it.
Right, right. And so one of the whereases at the bottom of page 4, the second to the bottom, is reminding you that for convenience to your members, they write one check for their assessments. We encourage them to write a check to Laguna Woods Village, one entity, instead of writing a separate check to the mutual and a separate check to GRF. So that check goes into a depository account that does have the GRF name on it, and then it goes out to the mutuals, and the mutuals reimburse GRF. And so we have all this intercompany transaction. But basically, this is allowing the managing agent to conduct the business of the associations. You have an unusual situation where your managing agent is owned by the 3 associations, right? In the for-profit world, a managing agent has multiple clients, and so they're trying to protect the money of an association to make sure that the agent doesn't commingle it or transfer it without the knowledge of the board.
Did you want to say something more?
We have 2 speakers on this.
Okay, we do have 2 speakers. Yes? They're going to come up, Betty, probably ask you questions.
Mary Stone?
There is a motion. There is a motion on the board, on the floor, but I need,
Okay.
we need to amend it or change it.
Okay, before Mary speaks, we need to do this, so, Joan.
Okay. I just need to incorporate what Betty suggested in the motion to approve this resolution and to ratify any transfers that have occurred since January 1st, to make sure that everything is covered. Any,
Okay. Is that good, Betty? Okay. All right, now we can go to Mary.
Mary Stone, 356C. I have 2 points I would like to make. In the first whereas, where it says Golden Ring Foundation, the association, or GRF, is a California nonprofit mutual benefit corporation organized, it says, for the purpose of operating the condominium project. I'm sorry, that's totally inaccurate. It was organized to provide services and community facilities to the members of GRF and their memberships, and act as trustee of the Golden Rain Trust. So that whole section from for the purpose of operating the condominium project known as Golden Rain Foundation, you can just scratch that and just say to provide this, because I'm reading your articles and your bylaws, and there is no reference to operating a condominium project. None. And besides that, there's also a co-op here. And that's my first thing. So from, you can include pursuant to the provisions set forth in your articles of incorporation, bylaws, et cetera. But it's organized to provide services. And I'll give you the exact wording. And it's taken from both your bylaws and your articles. Okay, the second point I would like to make is in your 1, 2, 3 whereas, your third whereas, the last section, operating the association in accordance with the association's governing documents and the Davis-Sterling Common Interest Act. No, VMS does not operate under the Davis-Sterling Act. VMS is not a common interest development. Oh, this GRF. Okay, sorry.
You can leave that one in.
Leave it, sorry.
Okay, just the one.
Just the one.
Thank you.
The first one. Okay, Betty, maybe Betty can clarify the first one.
So, Betty, I have a request for you to clarify the first one.
I'm guessing this is language that was taken from a resolution that was designed for a condominium project.
Right.
So
So we need to change that.
you could just take out the purpose of this resolution doesn't need to state the purpose of the Golden Rain Foundation.
Take out the first whereas.
Well, no, you could just take out, so it could say the Golden Rain Foundation is a California nonprofit mutual corporation known as.
Known as.
Yeah, for the purpose of goes, all the way to known as, okay?
Leave out organized for the purpose of.
Or just.
Okay.
Yeah,
that
you could
makes
just say
sense.
organized pursuant to the provisions set forth. Maybe that's the way to do it because then it avoids the repetition. So Golden Rain Foundation is a California nonprofit mutual benefit corporation organized pursuant to the provisions set forth in its articles.
I guess we can do it formally. Should we amend it?
Yes. Go ahead, John.
I move that we amend this resolution, the first paragraph, to remove the words "organized for the purpose of operating the condominium project,"
I'll second it.
so that it reads, Golden Rain Foundation is a California nonprofit mutual benefit corporation known as the Golden Rain Foundation.
Well, that's repetitive because it called it the Golden Rain Foundation above. So I was suggesting
Okay, further
a
amendment. Go
California
ahead.
nonprofit mutual benefit corporation organized pursuant to the provisions set forth. You would delete for the purpose of operating the condominium project known as Golden Rain Foundation.
Okay, just a Golden Rain Foundation is a California nonprofit mutual benefit corporation.
Organized.
Wait a minute,
Organized.
just
Organized pursuant.
Pursuant to. Because to try to clarify GRF's purpose in this resolution
Right.
is,
crazy.
you know, it's going to get
Yeah.
complicated.
I'll do my best here. So organized is in, and
Pursuant.
then skip down to pursuant to the provisions set forth in its articles of incorporation. So it'll read this way. Golden Rain Foundation, the Association of GRF, is a California nonprofit mutual benefit corporation organized pursuant to the provisions set forth in its articles of incorporation, so on to the end. So omit the words "for the purpose of the operating condominium project known as the Golden Rain Foundation."
Yeah.
Omit those words. Got it? Okay. And it was seconded. Okay. All in favor of the amendment?
Okay, all
We
in
have one more
fa-
speaker.
oops, Oh, we have another
Not
speaker.
yet.
Oh,
Okay. Is this pursuant to the amendment asking?
are you going to speak to the amendment?
No.
Okay, then it's not time to do that.
Okay.
So now we vote on the amendment. We are now voting on the amendment. All those in favor? Passes. Thank you. Now, we're going to talk about the amended motion. Anybody on the dais like to speak? Okay, so then we can do speakers.
Okay, Andre Torn from 389Q. And I've a question about on page 5 of 6, the last paragraph, transfer of greater than $10,000 or 5% of the association total combined reserve and operating account deposit, whichever is lower. So based on our budget, our reserve and operating account total amount is close to $1 million, something, $100 million. So we're talking about 5% is $5 million. So virtually the restriction is $10,000. Okay, that's my understanding. So the 5% really doesn't apply here because $10,000 is definitely lower. My question is, what's the percentage of transactions that's lower than $10,000? If it's very low, 1 or 2%, it doesn't relieve you any kind of effort in there. But if it's 50, 60, 70%, then that relieves a lot of activity. So if possible, I would like to see the percentage transactions under $10,000. Hopefully, that will amount to something that can reduce the effort of the board. And also, on page 5 of 6, number C, the VMS will disclose it to the board via account summary, statement, or otherwise. When I read the whole resolution, I was a little bit concerned that VMS doing all these transactions. But then when I look at C, I say, wow, this is what we want for, and they disclose all these information, transactions to us, and allow GRF to review them. I would assume that probably fall on the finance committee side to review all these informations and monitor them, making sure everything, we don't have to read everything, but at least providing a list to the finance committee will help us out, monitoring and the accountability side. And if possible, maybe we can put it online. So if anybody has any questions, those details can be shared with people. Just my comment. Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Do we have another speaker? Betty, could you address that, please?
Yeah, I just want to clarify on that E paragraph. The most important part of this 3-page resolution is the end of the last sentence. So after the comma, where it says section E, it says, this resolution shall be deemed the prior written approval from the board. So that's what this is doing, is it's removing the requirement or meeting the requirement to have written approval from the association by passing this resolution. So Andre, the board will not be reviewing and providing written authorization for the $10,000 or 5%. This resolution allows us to continue conducting business the way we do now. And we have a 2-signature requirement for any check over $5,000. And also on the paragraph C, the 3 treasurers have access to the online bank statements. So Diane can log into Bank of America anytime she wants and see the GRF bank accounts, which would include the depository and the GRF operating account, and see prior statements, current activity, balances, and so forth.
Diane, did you want to say something?
Mary Stone had additional information regarding her comment.
Okay. I know, we're giving Mary
I
special
understand.
attention because she gives us special attention on every document. Thank you.
Yeah, I flew in at 8 o'clock last night to be here today. Anyway, I would like to just remind the board that GRF does not handle the $100+ million budget. Their budget this year is just over $30 million. So, and this is what you're approving for VMS, what's in this business planning book 2019, except for your supplemental appropriations. Thank you.
Thank you.
We knew it.
Okay, so we're ready to vote on this? Okay. Repeating the motion will be our wonderful secretary, Joan.
Okay, we have moved to approve this resolution regarding financial transfers by VMS Corp. And to ratify any transfers that have been, any financial actions that have occurred since January 1st, that they be included in this. That's it.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion? Oh, on screen. Okay, passes. Thank you. And Betty, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, where are we? We are now on, we're on C now. we're on 13C, entertain a motion to approve a resolution to adopt the revised Media and Communications Committee Charter. Thank you, Joan.
Resolution 9019XX, Golden Rain Foundation of Laguna Woods Media and Communications Committee Charter. Whereas the Media and Communications Committee, formerly the Broadband Committee, has been established pursuant to Article 7, Section 7.1.1 of the bylaws of the corporation, and whereas this charter has not been updated since its original adoption April 1st of 2014. Now therefore be it resolved January 2nd, 2019, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby assigns the duties and responsibilities of this Media and Communications Committee as follows. Number 1, comply with Resolution G 8995, General Duties of Standing Committees, adopted October 3rd, 1989. Do I have to read this all?
I'm not sure.
Okay, with your permission, what? Okay, read it. General duties of standing committees. We put this in because it's not usually put into a charter, but these are the duties. Number 1, advise and recommend to the board goals, policies, and expectations in the committee's area of concern and in management's divisional performance for the purpose of evaluating ongoing experience. These goals, policies, and expectations should be quantifiable or otherwise measurable wherever possible and appropriate. 2, assure mutual understanding between committee and respective management division of approved goals, policies, and expectations. 3, keep informed generally regarding the extent and quality of operational performance. 4, seek an acceptable level of congruence among board expectations, management performance, and generally resident experience and desire. 5, seek optimum benefit or cost results in the committee's area of concern. 6, review on a continuing basis the long-range needs of the Laguna Woods Village community, its residents, facilities, services, and programs within the committee's area of concern, and develop information that will assist this corporation or the housing corporations in addressing anticipating future needs within their areas of responsibility. Forward recommendations and information based on said review to the Board of Directors of this corporation, to other standing committees of this corporation, or to other governance entities as appropriate. Committee's areas of concern. 2, to promote two-way communications within the community by every medium available. 3, ensure the maintenance and operation of GRF broadband and cable services system, the website, social media, and all publications and broadcasts under the committee's jurisdiction. 4, serve as liaison between the GRF board, broadband services, and marketing and communications divisions. 5, work with GRF committees and GRF board of directors on matters related to areas of responsibility in this charter. 6, review the capital requirements, service levels, and projected revenue related to the GRF Broadband Services Division, other activities referenced in this charter, and make recommendations to the GRF Business Planning Committee. 7, review all non-budgeted requests originated by the GRF Broadband Services Division, the Marketing Communications Division, or the CEO/COO, and recommend appropriate action to the Finance Committee. 7, review all non-budgeted requests originated by the GRF Broadband Services Division, the Marketing and Communication Division, or the CEO/COO, and recommend appropriate action to the Finance Committee. 8, ensure that the head-end, broadband, and village television facilities, equipment, and operations owned or managed by this corporation are maintained as necessary to sustain a consistent level of performance to meet the requirements of the community, the City of Laguna Woods franchise agreement, and FCC regulations. 9, direct the managing agent to prepare specifications and contracts used for procurement of programming, services, and commercial advertisements. Review and modify criteria as appropriate. 10, direct the managing agent to implement capital plan projects per board-approved scope of work. 11, serve as a liaison between the GRF board and the managing agent to ensure that communication services and any associated equipment are appropriate for the intended services. Make recommendations to all boards as necessary. 12, perform such other duties as may be assigned by the GRF Board of Directors. Resolve further, Resolution 90-1417, adopted April 1st, 2014, is hereby superseded and canceled. And resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move that we accept this resolution.
Do you have a second? Diane? Discussion?
Vote.
Anyone on the board? I'd like to say that this seems like such a well-written and really inclusive charter. So congratulations to the chair and to the director sitting out there in the audience. Yes, Andre.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about this issue. Frequently, I was talking about IT issues, and people said Chuck Collins presenting on the Media and Communication Committee, and I wasn't sure whether, seems like Media Communication Committee is for broadband, primarily for broadband, it's not touching any issues with IT. Am I correct on that?
No.
There's nothing mentioned here about IT.
We're not in charge of IT.
What? Sorry.
No, go ahead, John.
We're not in charge of IT. IT
Right.
works with CSE?
No, so, no.
IT, is so far as it's involved with communications, Andre, is our
Yeah.
prerogative.
Yeah, IT has two areas. One side is
Correct.
information technology side, the computers, servers, routers, that kind of thing. The other one side is cable and communication side.
Broadband.
So, yeah, they are all under Chuck Holland.
Correct.
So right now, I'm kind of confused. So who's in charge of IT? And people told me that it's under the media and communication, and I look at it and say, it has nothing to do with IT.
Yeah.
Right.
It's basically under media and communications.
Yes.
But what we really address mostly is the
Right,
communications
communication.
angle of it. The upkeep and keeping the computers going and all of that, the IT department takes care of that.
Right.
Siobhan, do you want to chime in on this, please?
The VMS board is ultimately responsible for information technology.
Yes.
So VMS is responsible for IT, not the media communication.
If I did notice she said the technology. So
Right.
the communications piece where we are reaching out to the community and
Right.
communicating, that resides in Media and Communications Committee.
Understood. Understood. Okay, appreciate that comment. And the number 2 question is on page 4 of 6, committee areas concern. Number 2, promote two-way communications within the community by every media available. Right now, all the communications are pretty much just one way. I want to know if
know
there's
that.
any. Yes. Okay. So we are aware of that.
That's what
We're
we're working
improving
on.
that. We're making improvement on that. So
That
looking
that
forward to
has been a challenge that we've been working on for the past at least year, if not two.
Right. We're
Just-
hoping that when we get the resident portals up and available, that we'll get more two-way communication.
Okay. All right. Appreciate that. I think that's the missing piece that will help us do a better job. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else? Then we do have a motion to accept this charter. And we know we're done with that part. Now it's all in favor. Please vote on the
Vote on your screen.
screen, please. Looks like unanimous. Thank you so much. That was C. And now we're on 13D. Entertain a motion to accept the traffic engineer proposal. 13D will be read now.
Okay. I move that we accept the proposal to do the study with the traffic engineer to evaluate the need for traffic calming measures on Cali Aragon in the area of Clubhouse 1.
Thank
There's
you.
no
Do I-
resolution.
Oh, there's no resolution, you're right. Do I have a second on this motion, Diane? Discussion. All those in favor?
Vote.
And you can vote on screen, please. Unanimous, thank you so much. We are now on item 14, committee reports. Report of the Finance Committee, Director Phelps.
Okay. It is a new year. Happy New Year. And I'd like to start off my report today with some comments instead of jumping right into the slides. First, I want to let you know I anticipate making some changes in the Finance Committee report this year, including making changes to the slides and the information provided in the agenda packet. The first change we have already made is to include a variance report in the agenda packet. It's included as page 8 of item 14A. It gives you more information than I can say in a couple of minutes. I also plan to explain more about GRF's finances in my reports in hopes of making them easier to understand. I'll start today with a comment I often hear people making, that money GRF spends remodeling the Performing Arts Center or pickleball courts should instead be spent on hiring more bus drivers, landscapers, and painters to improve our services and remodel our manners. You need to know that by law, this cannot happen. The funds used to remodel and improve GRF facilities or purchase equipment comes out of GRF's reserves. These reserves are funds that have accumulated over the last 55 years and must be spent on capital items and improvements. We buy buses and vans and landscape equipment with the reserve funds, but we cannot use these funds for everyday costs of running the village. Everyday expenses are operating costs and come out of our operating budget, which we set and fund each year. It is very important to understand GRF has two separate and distinct funds of money that cannot be used interchangeably. In the same way, GRF funds cannot be spent on remodeling our manors or paying landscapers to clean our flower beds around our manors. These expenses have to be borne by the housing mutuals, Third, United, and Mutual 50, not by GRF, because the housing mutuals and GRF are separate entities with their own responsibilities. I've probably said enough for today, so I'm going to cue the slides and begin the review of our November 30, 2018 preliminary financial statements. Thank you. On slide 1, through the reporting period of November 30th, 2018, total revenue for GRF was $39.8 million compared to expenses of $38.5 million, resulting in net revenue of $1.3 million. Next slide. This next chart shows activity in operations separate from reserves. After backing out depreciation, which is not funded through operations, we can see bottom line, we had an operating deficit of $290,000 through November. Slide 3. When comparing these results to budget, GRF was worse than budget by $904,000. The most significant unfavorable variances were attributable to legal fees. They were $453,000 higher than budgeted. due to arbitration services and just some additional legal fees. And we did, on October the 2nd, the board approved a supplemental appropriation of $350,000 to help pay for this from our contingency fund. Also, outside services were $416,000 over budget. This was due to broadband expenses, which were moved from cable programming category. And in addition, we had more outside repairs for generators and vehicles, unbudgeted marketing and communication programs, and increased expenses in aquatics. The trust facilities fee was less than budget by $359,000, which was unfavorable for us due to the transitional period of the fee change in the first quarter, and also because the resales are 21% lower than the same period last year and 9% lower than budgeted. The clubhouse rentals and event fees were lower, as were there was a loss on the sale of of 2 vehicles due to a book. It was really a book loss because the vehicles had not yet been fully depreciated. But we did experience a favorable offset in a couple of categories. One was broadband services revenue, which was almost $500,000 more than budget due to more internet subscribers and set-top box rentals than budgeted. And we had interest income that was $280,000 higher than budgeted due to higher investment balances. Slide 4. On this pie chart, we show the non-assessment revenues received to date of $12 million by category, starting with our largest revenue-generating operation, broadband services, followed by the trust facilities fees, golf operations, and so forth. These revenues help keep the assessments down. There you go, thank you. Expenses to date, including depreciation, are shown on this pie chart. So we had expenses excluding depreciation were $34.1 million, the largest categories being compensation, cable TV, utilities, insurance, professional and legal, and so on. Slide 6. The reserve and contingency fund adjusted balances are shown on slide 6. Starting with the first column on the left, the funds show a combined ending balance of $28.7 million. Included in this total are contributions received this year through assessments, trust facilities fees, and interest earnings. The second column shows the work in progress of $5.4 million, reflecting the amounts paid for projects not yet complete. And the third column represents the resulting adjusted fund balances of $23.2 million. And the last slide. This is a summary of our detailed reserve expenditures report. Column 1 shows we had appropriations of just over $22.5 million approved as of November 30th, 2018. Included in this figure are all 2018 capital plan items and supplemental appropriations, also early release 2019 capital plan items, and amounts approved in prior years that were carried over for completion. This figure has increased as GRF approved supplemental appropriations during the year. The second column reflects expenditures and is titled Incurred to Date, or what has been spent since the funding was approved. We can see that just under $11.2 million has been booked as of November 30th, 2018. This figure has increased during the year as expenditures have been made. The final column shows $10.3 million, which is the remaining encumbrances. This is the amount approved by the board that has not yet been spent for open projects. That's it for the slides, but I remind you that much more detail is provided in the GRF Finance Committee agenda packets, which are available online and at GRF Finance Committee meetings. Our next meeting is February 20th at 1:30 in the boardroom, and that's it for the Finance Committee report.
We are now going to go to item 14B, the Community Activities Committee. Director Sybil Soul.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I haven't had my first meeting yet, but I will tell you that on December 27th, 2018, an e-blast was sent out from Recreation And I'll give you some of the events before we have our meeting. The first one was mentioned already, was Monday, January 7th, Clubhouse 5, the College Football National Championships. Doors open 4:30. It starts at 5. If you have any questions, you may call 949-597-4382. This is a free event, and you can purchase hot dogs there. The next event would be on Wednesday at Clubhouse 1, which would be January the 9th at 5:30, and that's an Italian dinner. Tickets are $12 at Clubhouse 1. You can bring your own wine. Glasses will be provided, and if you have any questions or need to purchase or speak to someone, you may call 949-597-4281. The last one I'll mention, even though it starts after our January 10th, 1:30 p.m. meeting here in the boardroom, will be Monday, January the 14th at Clubhouse 7, 5:30 p.m., a soup and salad buffet. Tickets are on sale for $12, and if you have any questions, call 949-268-2417. If you have any questions and about any event going on in the village, you may email recreation, that word, recreation, at vmsinc.org with your questions, and they will get back to you and answer. And I look forward to seeing all of you in January the 10th here in the boardroom at 1:30 for CAC. Thank you.
Thank you, Annette. Next, we have the report of the Maintenance and Construction Committee, Director Mattson.
Okay. We had a meeting on December the 12th, and we spent quite a bit of time on our project log, answering a lot of questions, staff answering a lot of questions from our directors and other people. We also added an addition to the agenda, which was the pickleball storage area. We had talked about that, and I made a motion on that and approved that. I also brought up the 19th hole restaurant. We talked about that for a while. And we got through most of the things, and we ended up, I think there were 10 directors. We made a little field trip over to Gate 12, and where we walked and talked a lot about the pickleball courts, also initially the paddle tennis courts, which are now a combination of paddle tennis and pickleball. That's coming along okay. I was by there yesterday, and they now have the top on the area where the folks will gather and talk and so forth. Let's see. On the visit, we went to, like I said, pickleball and paddle tennis. Then we also, because we talked about the restaurant in the meeting, we went over to where the restaurant is and looked down, and we talked about that wall that we're talking about, expanding out to the north 3 feet. Also, we talked about, we visited the annex green space, which is a 90-foot by 90-foot area that's been, we used to have shuffleboard there, and now it's all been changed. It's all grass there, and there are 2 concrete, made out of concrete, sitting areas that you can go to. That's available right now. It's all done. It looks real nice. You can sit there and take some snacks or something with you, and there's a beautiful view there. So that's that's right now. So someday that area may be converted into something else, but right now it's just a green space where people can go and relax and talk and so forth. Also, we in the same area there, on the Clubhouse 2 Annex, there's a video club, so we talked about that a little bit. That activity is going to be expanded a little bit here, because the The video area is becoming more popular and the folks need more room, so that's going to occur here, and we'll be talking about that at our next meeting, which actually will be February the 13th. We will not be meeting this month. Also, we finished off going to the new lawn bowling area, which is really an incredible area now. We spent a lot of money there, and had a little letter here, but let's see if I can find that. I had guess I don't have it. But we got a nice thank you note from one of the lawn bowling people saying how appreciative they are of redoing that whole area, which needed a total rework. And we have people come in from out of state. There was a group from Canada that was just there, and the people in Canada said that our new lawn bowling area is probably the best one in the whole area. And I think it's even out of the state, it's better from other ones that they have seen out of the state, because we're starting to get, well, it has been for a while, where there would be competitions between groups of our group here and a group from Canada or a group from one of the other cities around here. So it's becoming a very popular thing. And so anyway, on our tour, there were around 10 directors, and the reason for the tour is that on Third Ward and United Board, there are new people there on the board that are not that familiar with the area here, and some of the places I mentioned here in Gate 12, especially the lawn bowling area, hardly anyone goes there because it's right almost like the end of the road, and people have other things in mind. So, but that lawn bowling is really a special area now, and I highly recommend folks just going over there and they can sit at this greenbelt area and walk around, because we got quite a few things there. Like I mentioned, we got pickleball, paddle tennis courts, we got the restaurant, we got this annex greens place. We have this Clubhouse 2 video club now, and now we got this lawn bowling. So it's an area that has some wonderful things for the community here. And that concludes my presentation. Like I said, the next meeting is February the 13th.
Thank you. Thank you. There are two other items under the maintenance and construction. One is the Performing Arts Center Renovation Ad Hoc Committee, and that has a TBA on that meeting, waiting for the architect's design to be coming back. And the Village Energy Task Force, and they will be having, their next meeting is January 9th, but we will probably have to have a TBA on that, as Director Muldo is recovering. So now we are going to move down to item D, the report of the Media and Communications Committee. Director Millman.
Thank you. Thank you. We met December 17th here at 1:30, and Mr. Holland and Ms. Pullen reported on their respective areas. Mr. Holland reported on everything that you just heard from Lisa. Lisa's report on VMS. The security vehicle laptops have been added. Camera systems are added. There are new camera systems, there are automatic dialers and state-of-the-art transportation systems. And he told the committee that they've been very busy with residents' calls due to the final analog removal. And you've heard some of that today. Channel 3 has been completely removed, and so unless you can rent a set-top box, you won't be able to get that feature. But perhaps if you search around the internet, the TV, you might find it in either 321 or 3.2.1. Anyway, I'm going to search and see if I can find the scroll that is now missing. Mr. Holland reported on all the contract renewals, saying that with Fox Sports, they've netted the highest estimated increase. It's huge. And we work with another group, that negotiate for us, and so we're hoping that it won't be as high as it said it was, which is over 100% increase. Mr. Holland reported on subscriber counts and set-top boxes and pay TV, all of which are on the rise. Everyone seems to be getting set-top boxes and buying pay TV stations. He wanted to remind you that, you can call for service to have the truck come out and help you reschedule your channels if you need it. It's $35 for a service call, but mind you, sometimes they prorate it. It depends. But have faith. You can call resident services for help to rescale your television if you need it. The $4.95 fee for a small set-top box is not too much for most of us to pay, but if you need to not do that, maybe there's some other ways. Don't forget that there is a printed schedule for all the TV programs every Saturday in the register. It's a pullout, so you can get all that information. Ms. Poland reported that there was a recent tour in November with Leisure World Seal Beach, and they came over and toured with her, with Becky Jackson and director Jim Matson. And as a result, our COO, Siobhan Foster, has been able to forge a relationship with Leisure World's Tim Cleary. So I expect they're going to copy us with some of the things we're doing for transportation and whatnot. We were requested to publicize access to manners in gates 2, 3, and 4 during the construction when they're putting on new gate arms, and we're certainly going to be doing that. So watch for it. You'll hear it in the you should get it in the Globe, you'll get it in the Breeze, and you'll also get it probably as emails, especially for the residents in those areas. And you've heard our revised charter today, which was passed. And I'm pleased about that. So we're really off and running. Next time, we're going to be discussing a policy preview on photography and filming in the village. And Mr. Holland will probably present more on broadband and the internet. So please come. Our next meeting is January 21st here in this room at 1:30. That's my report.
Thank you, Joan. Report of the Mobility and Vehicles Committee, Director Gross.
We had a meeting on the 5th of December, and quite a few items were brought up and discussed. For instance, items for discussion and consideration were supplemental funding to replace plan-a-ride vans, early release bus vehicle purchases, discussion of the 7-day fixed route, items for future agenda, which is really important, award of contracts for bus modeling services, bus pre-purchase review task force, and Federal Transit Administration 5310 grant reservations, which involve service animals on buses and plan-a-ride vehicles, oxygen generators and respiratory support devices on buses. In concluding of the meeting, it was requested that we meet every month rather than every other month. I'm going to address that, and I think we'll be able to show the reason why. First off, they made the request. The board, the GRF board, must approve this in order to have it every month. That is the requirement. The most important thing is last month, I started something different. I had a situation where I wanted to find out what's going on, which would take care of the in-between months. For instance, we had Mobility and Vehicles Committee current challenges. Problems can't be overcome, but challenges can. We had 5 items were of great importance. Already this month, in answering to some of these things I've just made mention, the current Mobility and Vehicle Committee current and updating issues. RFP bus modeling service. Review the cost and qualifications of highest ranked proposed, which is to be in February. Approve staff's recommendation to send to Finance Committee and Board for execution of a contract. Pre-purchase for bus review task force January. Identify a small group of stakeholders or to participate in the selection of the bus manufacturers prior to purchase of 4 new buses. Group must stay the same and participate fully to expedite the process and order buses as soon as possible. Work with new transportation and maintenance service manager to identify causes and solutions for the excessive noise level on new buses, which is ongoing. Application period for federal grant funding for buses opens later in 2019. In the grant requirements for current bus regarding services, animals, accommodations, and oxygen bottle generators. That is being addressed here. We'll put it this way. Now, the important thing here is that our new manager has already done things to try to find out what challenges we can overcome. Several weeks ago, a person put information in the Globe having discussed some challenges. Here's a response already. Hi, Cheryl. Bruce Hartley mentioned that I sent you this email to make a copy to put in Director A. Gross's mailbox. This morning, I followed up with a phone call to Mrs. So-and-so regarding her recent letter to the editor and the Grove. Mrs. So-and-so expressed concerns that she was having with getting picked up upon Tuesday night as part of the Plan A ride. While she couldn't talk long, I assured her that we are actively looking to improve our transportation services, and I plan on returning a phone call on day 1 next week, so forth and so on. He's already working on some challenges that we're going to try to overcome. That is fabulous. Now, along with that, I believe by doing this, it informs the community, not just the people for the mobility meeting on February the 6th, for instance, but this tells the whole community what's going on. Speaking of that, we're in a process of needing a couple of advisors, and here's my suggestion. The Mobility Committee is in the process of appointing 2 advisors to the committee. I would appreciate it if anyone is interested in this position to please submit a letter depicting their background and experience, especially with bus services and transportation vehicles. The most important factor about the advisor's position is to have a very open mind, as well as the committee members, as to all aspects of the committee and staff's information overview of all aspects of the program. It is very important that any decisions made should be made for the benefit of the whole community, not just for a few people, as to the cost reliabilities and so forth and so on. This background information is very important to the community, and to begin, we make it fair. I will share this information with several other committee members, and then, in fairness, the right choices will be made as to the advisors. I think we're trying to go about this the right way so that it is taken care of beneficially for everyone involved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Gross. Moving on to Security and Community Access, Director Tibbetts.
Thank you. A problem has developed regarding caregivers. You know, the state made it mandatory that caregivers be licensed. However, we have a lot of caregivers here that work with residents, but they don't, they're not licensed by the state. And so this has created a problem, and Third and United are looking into this because there's a big difference between licensed caregivers who dispense medication and other caregivers who have absolutely nothing to do with medication. And that's the big thing. We think, United and Third is going to work with the state and try to solve that problem. Chief Maury gave us a projected schedule for the completion of the gate arms. Starting next month, we will do gate 1 and 14, and then the rest of them are scheduled through the end of this year, and everything should be completed by that time. We're having a problem with gate runners, and that was mentioned to Chief Maury, and so he went out in an unmarked car to see if he could run a gate. He said it was no problem, ran right through it. You wave and you go, because if you go through a gate, what is the gate guard going to do? They're not going to run after you. They're not going to chase you. Who would they call? It'd be too late. So these gate arms are going to stop all of that completely. I live in gate 5, between 5 and 6. All of the gate runners there has stopped completely. So these gate arms are really an excellent addition to our community. We discussed the problem of a non-resident woman who used to live here with her mother. The mother no longer lives here. The woman still breaks into the unit. Last time she came in, she broke in, she cut herself. They had to call the doctor and took her by an ambulance to a hospital. And then she was arrested for breaking in. And so that brought up a discussion about the illegal residents, and there aren't that many, but there are a lot of illegal residents living here with their parents, and that should not be done. Compliance is looking into it again. They're coming down a little bit heavier. And I'm telling you now, if you have an older daughter or son living with you illegally, and it is discovered by compliance, you would be brought forth to a hearing. And I'm not sure what would happen at that time. We discussed the problem of unlicensed golf carts. To some reason, people don't want to pay for it. They will charge their batteries at no cost. They'll even have a cord going into their house to charge the batteries. But that is all going to stop. We are making an intensive investigation of all golf carts that have no license on it. And the last item I will mention is that the proximity cards, Annette was working on that, and it's coming up next month, and will be more information on it at that time. Director Ray Gross can give a report on traffic hearing. Ray?
Unfortunately, you were the one directing the traffic hearing last month because I was in the hospital getting an operation.
Yeah, that's right. I was.
However, you had some challenges, but I can give the information that I normally put out that would be a benefit.
Yes.
We've had over 2,000 notices of violation. For instance, we had a speed 11 to 15. We had an increase from 393 to over 470. Speed 16 plus up over 58, over 96, almost 104, I believe. Stop signs, here again, from 410 up to 514. Unlicensed vehicles, drivers. Now, you see, this is the same thing that people say, oh, I'm 75 years old. I don't need to be licensed. I'm only driving in here. That's wrong. You must be licensed. And that's an insurance factor, which is very beneficial to all of you folks here as well. The only thing down was moving violations were just a little bit down. But here again, no parking. What from 29 to 437. Yeah. That has to do with the commercial vehicles, a lot of the commercial vehicles being parked in the situation. And people don't understand that, but we have a rule that is given to the commercial people telling them what they must do. We allow them time to unload their equipment. However, after doing so, they must park out of the cul-de-sac. Limited parking, only up to 21 from 15. Here again, expired registration. I'm 85 years old. I don't need to do my car. From 444 to 633. No decal, up from 230 to 610.
Jeez.
Handicap, they were down a little bit. People are beginning to understand. Other parking from 291 to 376. RV violations are down because that's being worked on by the committee to make sure that things are done properly. We're making open spaces and putting vehicles in those locations. So the chief and the committee is doing a real good job on that. That would be all I could say on that information. You would have the information as to how many people were there and what the activities were.
Yeah, it went fine, except we had one gentleman who refused to listen to us, really, and so we sent him, he will be going to United for a hearing, not for us. Okay, the last report would be on disaster preparedness, and our new director, Judy Trouton, will report.
Okay, thank you. The task force is exactly what it says. It is a task force. It is not a standing committee. So we're made up a little bit differently than committees. For example, we only have 3 officers on the task force. The acting chair is Chief Tim Moore. The acting vice chair is Roger Cowdy from Security. And the recording secretary, which is myself, Judith Troutman. There was no meeting in December. Our last meeting was November 27th. We meet on the last Tuesday of odd months. And some months have 4 Tuesdays, some months have 5 Tuesdays. So if you want to come to one of our meetings, it's the last Tuesday of an odd month. We meet at 9:30 in the Cypress Room that's on the 2nd floor of this building. We do have a page on the village website. If you go to residents and then go down to security, you can find information there on the Disaster Preparedness Task Force, and you can download the entire emergency operating plan, but it's 100 pages. You probably don't want to print it out. But it is there, and it's great information. Or you can go to the search box and key in disaster preparedness or disaster preparedness forms. And there you can get forms to sign up to volunteer, either to be a good neighbor captain or find good neighbor captain in your area. So if you want to know if there's a good neighbor captain assigned to your building or near you, we have a nice map up there and all the buildings are listed. So if you don't see someone that's in your building or your area, you may want to consider volunteering to be the good neighbor captain for that building. You can also get forms on emergency medical personnel forms to be included in our database if you have a background in medical. You can find the schedule of upcoming training classes, or you can stop by the office on the 1st floor here. They've moved. They're in that far corner of this building, and I think that's northeast corner, but I'm not sure because I think I'm turned around. But our next class for the Good Neighbor Captain Training, and you can just show up just to see what it's all about, is Wednesday, February 6th, 2019, of course, at 2 p.m. from 2 to 4 over at Clubhouse 7. After that, in March, on March 4th, we're going to have a class on diabetes and stroke. Everybody's invited for that class. That's going to be from 1 to 4, again, at Clubhouse 7. And then on April 15th, we're going to have a basic first aid training class. Everybody's welcome from 1 to 4, April 15th. That's tax day, I think. So if you want to go to any of these classes, you could call or stop by the Disaster Preparedness Office at 949-597-4237. Now, the towers, they have their own training classes for Good Neighbor floor captains because of the way their building's set up. They have 14 floors, even though we have 3-story buildings, so it's sort of the same thing. To have one captain for 23 manors is a lot. So they hold their own egress training, and their plan is tapered to their own situation and to their building design. But it's still synchronized with the village task force. Contact Eileen Lopez or Alex in the Towers office if you live in the Towers and want more information about their setup over there. And if we were to have a large-scale community emergency, we ask residents to stay in place if it's safe for you to do so and you're able to. Everyone should know who their good neighbor captain is in case you need help, and if power's down especially, so you know who to go to. Chances are, if you have one assigned, they've already been to your manor and introduced themselves or left pertinent information. So I already told you can get that information on the website. And you also could go to your nearest clubhouse in your area, which we call your Care and Reception Center. Now, Gate 14 does not have a clubhouse. So your care and reception center would be in building 4008 in the rec room of the garage. And that's all I have for now, and the next meeting will be the last Tuesday of this month in January. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Our next security meeting will be February 25th at 1:30 in this room. That concludes our report.
Thank you. Next is item G, the report of the Landscape Committee, and Director Maldo is not here. The next meeting is scheduled for January 16th at 1:30 here in the boardroom. So that's going to stay scheduled. If we need to change it, there will be an announcement of such. Item 15, future agenda items. All matters listed under future agenda items are resolutions on 30-day public review or items for a future board meeting. No action will be taken by the board on these agenda items at this meeting. The board will take action on those items at a future board meeting. And so now where we are is item 16, which is director's comments. And I'm going to start over there with Director English.
I have no comment except to say Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you.
I just want to thank everyone for speaking their voice and having me put back on this board among my friends. And we're already into the second day of the new year, and it's going fabulous. Thank you very much, and hope the rest of your year is just as good.
Yeah, I'll be speaking on Laguna Canyon Foundation. They have naturally the wilderness park areas. It's good information, and I'm working with them to provide us with information in advance as to any real big changes that they've got coming about that you should be apprised of. If you need to contact them for any information whatsoever, please call 949-923-2236 or 949-497-8324 is Monday through Friday. The other number is on Saturday. Thank you very much.
Good Director Phelps.
I'd like, when I was making my presentation, I talked about the lawn bowling area and how nice it is, and I'd like to read a letter that I got from one of the members there. The Laguna Woods Lawn Bowling Club members wish to thank you and all of the GRF board members for giving us the greatest gift ever, our new greens. Recently, we hosted the North American Challenge Tournament. The bowlers who participated came from Canada and all parts of the United States of America. We were told by those participants that our greens are by far the best in the whole United States. We members wish all of you a happy holiday and prosperous new year. Thank you again for your support. The Laguna Woods Village Lawn Bowling Club members.
Thank you.
I wish everybody a happy holiday, Beth. It's a great meeting, and I just want to say again, thank you to Jim Mattson, who made that project come in 3 weeks earlier. And he was there every day diligently making sure everything got done as far as lasers go, and it's just awesome. Thank you so much for your commitment to our village.
Thank you.
I just want to say, Happy New Year and onward and upward, team. Let's do it.
Dick. Director Palmer.
Oh, Happy New Year to everyone. I look forward to this year.
Director
I have
Tibbet.
nothing to add.
Thank you. Oh, Whitney.
And our best wishes to Bert.
Pardon?
Our best wishes to Bert. for
And
quick
best
recovery.
wishes to the empty chair guy, Bert, over there, and hopefully he will be back very soon filling that chair for us. And Happy New Year to all. This meeting is now recessed.